Excuse me. So this is about the Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia. Very haunted. I've personally been. I actually leave voodoo dolls at places I've ventured. You know, those little string dolls like Hags's. If you haven't seen Hags is like a little blonde-haired, pink-haired doll that I have that has no real face. Just dressed in white, that type of thing. I usually leave those things at all the haunted places I've been. I still have the little devil at that cemetery. So it's actually just sitting on one of the gravestones, and it hasn't been wet or anything because it's too hot down in Georgia. But anyway, so that cemetery is very like high strung. I would explain it as, if you've ever seen the novel or like read the novel Midnight in the Garden, that's exactly what it is. It's very scary. It's very like intense, and it feels like a bone-chilling experience because there's a lot of gravestones of famous Victorian people, a lot of soldiers, a lot of real diplomats and other things there too, and it's insanity. There's Spanish moss in the trees too. But I went there, and it's like in Georgia to begin with, in Savannah, Georgia, there's a lot of places where they claim that there was like a portal to hell or something. And I was like, well, this is a great place to be. And I went in July, so July is like, if you've ever wanted to sweat like Niagara Falls, go down to Savannah, Georgia in the middle of July and wear like a tank top and blue jeans, because you will sweat like a fiend in that area. Like, it's just disgusting. Anyway, so like all places, this is going to teach us something. Hopefully it doesn't explain exactly what my little voodoo doll is doing down there, but one can only guess. So we have the Four of Swords, which is death, which is nice. It is a cemetery after all. So rest after a long period of adversity, sleep and dreaming, in solitude, temporarily abandonment or hemorrhage, sometimes a tomb or a coffin, signifying the ultimate or final death. So that's that's always fun. And then we have number 6, the 6 of Cups. We're gonna put it as that. So thoughts of childhood, nostalgia, sweetness of memory, a desire for old, and measuring the true worth of the past and its times and the future. So there's a Gemini energy here that actually comes up and has, nostalgia overlooking over other people. Very lucrative, self-aware ghost. So aren't all ghosts though. But with ghosts, there's ones that are like missing, like they don't understand that they've passed on, so they're in limbo. There's ones that are like lucratively like in world, like, oh, I'm dead but I'm still here. And then there's other ones that have come back for other reasons, which could be good or bad. So, here we are. We have the Queen of Swords. So often considered widowhood, intelligence with the knowledge of the dark side of the world, one who has gone from happiness to failure, So there's also a lady in there, or a man who actually never got remarried like they wanted to, which is interesting. But yeah, since I have a force there, a piece of me was up there. It does feel like it's right on the heart chakra, because it does affect me when I leave things places. Whether it's a button or a coin or like one of those. It has to be of something that is technically valuable, like silver or string, because string, for anybody who knows anything about the dark arts, string is representative of clothes or hair, so it's a very personal item to leave. So if you leave possessions over at people's houses and they believe in the dark arts, they can curse you technically. But yeah, if you're not a sage 8, you know, you can't fuck with that. As an insurance policy. So we have true colors. Cast aside your inabilities or inhabilitations. I'm still dyslexic, so give me a second. Today of all days will don your wildest outfit, make a bold style statement, and show your true colors. Then we have joy from the bluebird. We have colorful bluebird wings into the world, bringing a small piece of heaven, a arrival that ensures blessings you seek, and pass it on. We have in the moment. And tiger beetle moves so fast you cannot notice him. When things are happening at the speed of life, slow down, take it all in, and be in the moment. So, mostly, if you leave something in a cemetery, they kind of give you more of like animals that they encounter as ghosts. Okay, so if you ever do a reading for a ghost, make sure you have a lot of animal cards or animal pictures and stuff, because it actually shows like animals that have visited that place recently. A lot of bugs, a lot of beetles, a lot of things. So we have bats here. Face your fears. Night holds many mysteries, but fear is not hard. Is not when you hear the fluttering of bat wings against the evening sky. The bats will protect you from pesky biting bugs. And then we have Earth. Naturally, it's. I'm laughing because it's like, it's a cemetery. Like, of course we would have Earth here. Anyway, so each season brings new reasons to connect to Mother Earth. Observe nature with open eyes and welcoming heart. Honor all of the creatures, both heavenly and humble. So there's a snake here. I think it's a garter snake. Not sure. But I'd say it's a garter snake. Yeah, I've seen a lot of like brown garter snakes and copperheads around my house, and I think that since there's a line down it, it's a garter snake. If it doesn't have lines down it and it's diamond shapes, it's a copperhead or one of those water moccasins. I almost got bitten by a water moccasin. Delicious creatures. Yeah. So try to stay away from water moccasins. They are poisonous, and garter snakes have lines down their back, so keep that in mind. But if you see anything that's like brown and small, that is a copperhead. When copperheads get bigger, they get like almost like ring shapes on their backs, or like diamond shapes. I call them ringbacks because a lot of times when snakes move, it doesn't show like diamond shapes, it shows circles because of how their muscles move in their body. It's interesting. So we have divine feminine cards. because there's probably a lot of feminine energy here. So we have the High Priestess. I am my soul, and my soul is the legacy of love. We have the presence of the Divine Feminine. At the center of everything there is light, and I am light. We have the patronage of possible causes. I am marvelous. My prayers create powerful channels of possibility. So there's been a lot of people praying here about their loved ones, probably praying about certain gifts, certain things that they want to receive and stuff, because you can pray to gravestones. They're the closest to God, in theory. In Native American culture, usually if we need something, we usually give people that have passed on what people call now, coffins. They're actually spirit houses to Native Americans. So, like, we give people that have passed on things that they might need, such as medicines and prayers and things. Prayers usually are, like, animal skins and things like that. So, if the person needs, like, a blessing, or they had an incurable thing, or they fell sick, like, overnight, usually they're buried with medicine, herbs, and fur, and some type of knife or tooth. Reason is that we believe that when they pass on, they might need to fight off that thing for the next life, or for their reincarnated soul. So, that kind of thing. But anyway, pagans do that too, where they kind of give you either money, or they give you some type of trinket of some kind. It's very... It's a very big thing. So, I think the worst thing that you can give somebody in the Christian culture is a piece of string when they die. People that don't know why a piece of string is, like, a bad idea to put in a coffin or in, like, ashes is, because it means, like, the soul will be lost. So, in pagan culture, you can give them whatever and they'll deal with it. But with Christianity, usually you're making connection with the higher being or the universe. Usually Catholics make contact with the universe. Presbyterians make connections with their God and all this nonsense. But anyway, to be honest with you, you should probably know how to read stars. But anyway, with all this going on, we do have final thoughts with my notes. So, okay, just money and no time for love. Trusting no one with your money or with your life. So you might be dealing with that. A professor, study, or a health professional. We also have your home where you can be yourself. So with everything that happens down in Georgia, it doesn't surprise me that there's haunted areas. Also, with the energy down in Georgia, a lot of people can be themselves. Now, the reason why there's so much active ghosts and things around Georgia is because a lot of the people that passed away either had high influence or had a very big personality. And usually people with big personalities, they tend to make an entrance even after death. So if the energy never left, it has kind of like a routine it goes through. And it's attracted to certain energies from certain planets, usually the 8th house. If you have an 8th house, you don't believe in ghosts. If you don't have a planet in your 8th house, you think being haunted by a ghost is delightful and fun. But If you have like Mercury in your 8th house, you are scared and terrified of ghosts. Like you have no idea. Like communication with anything that's paranormal freaks you out. If your 8th house is in Venus, you will fall in love with somebody who's recently passed on or will soon pass on. Mercury, that's entirely funny. I was reading Mercury before I did this, and I was like, this is so fun. But yeah, if Mars is in your 8th house, you have a lot of trouble. I feel like there might be aggressions against a third party, and that third party might end you. But it's with Jupiter in your 8th house, a lot of people don't like you, and that could be a problem. Or it could also be a fan, like John Lennon. You know, a fan could do you in if you're famous. With an 8th house with Saturn in it, actually the truth about death will be revealed to you before you die. So it could be a bit of a shock or a heart attack or like brain aneurysm that would do you in. Also, with Uranus, it's going to be creative, so it might be done by either an enthusiast of ritualistic endings, such as a serial killer, or, you know, somebody who has kind of paganistic tendencies. I say paganistic because usually people that are serial killers right now in this lifetime usually go back to history and actually pick a way they want their victims to die, which could be very ritualistic, as in like pharaohs or Mayans or something like that, where it would be more of like a ceremonial death instead of something like that. So that's kind of what Uranus would be. Neptune, you probably would be thrown in the ocean. With Pluto, it would be a crime of passion, I think, which would probably be like going overboard in a passionate embrace or in a ritualistic, passionate embrace, which is interesting. But if your 8th house is in kind of like either North Node or like, I think it's in Lilith, is kind of weird. Like your legacy will be your death, which is kind of poetic. But yeah, there's too much. But anyway, with cemeteries and stuff like that, usually there's more feminine energy around it. So feminine energy is usually either Venus or like one of the constellational families, like the Seven Sisters or that Voltex X in the middle of the sky. So yeah, it could also be a bit of a like feminine constellations. There's a lot of lady constellations in the sky. So if some of those are lit up, then that's kind of where the feminine energy is coming from. But there could be a lot of feminine reasons why certain people passed in this cemetery. But yeah, as far as I know, this group of people that are in this cemetery want to make sure that you live your life as an individual and not as like a product of like your environment, basically. So because there's a lot of cemetery, type things, but there's also fewer tarot cards, a lot of oracle cards. You even got divine feminine cards, which never show up in these type of things usually, unless there's something to say about it. With the animal cards, I just think it's a fun twist, and for some reason they activated when I asked the question about this place, and I figured it could be fun. I would have liked to see a butterfly, but it is what it is. It's not a very like butterfly-ish looking place. It's more of like a dark, like shadow based place, but it's not like a bad place. It's just a lot of energy happens there, and some of it might be triggering, some of it might not. But if you want to visit it, I would wish you do, because it's a very good learning opportunity for everybody to actually find out about the area and the people that used to roam the same places that they do, because like the ghosts that are in the cemetery actually go into town sometimes, so you might want to actually visit and say hi. But anyway, I love cemeteries, and I do leave little yarn doll trinkets at the cemeteries. Do not remove anything that's in a cemetery, because it's bad luck. It's bad luck that follows you home, and it will change your perception in life. If you're doing good and you take something home from a cemetery, it actually brings your life standard down, either through emotional or physical means, which it's kind of weird to explain, but it's not good. So if you're usually a happy person, you'll be a sad person, vice versa kind of thing. So try not to take anything from a cemetery, because a change in yourself could be a change in environment, friends, and other things that you may or may not want for your lifestyle, because everything you take out of a cemetery has a good and bad part of it. So if there's a coin there, leave the coin alone. If there's food there, do not eat the food. If there's dolls there, leave the dolls there. If you have a creepy doll that you don't want anymore, however, put it in a cemetery. It's a lot of fun. Especially for like grave diggers. Like, they'll pick up a doll and be like, that's cool, I'll just put it back down. But yeah, usually baby dolls do pretty well in cemeteries, but if it's a ceramic doll, usually put that in like a more closed area. But yeah, usually funeral directors love seeing dolls there, because like they'll change the doll and make sure that the doll looks presentable for families and things. It's interesting. Anyway, so I'm gonna wrap this up, because usually I don't, like my last one. I don't usually do that. But, sometimes you get chatty. So, with certain cemeteries, you can get chatty. I do not recommend you using a Ouija board in a cemetery. However, I would, ask you to use a magnifying glass instead of a planchette if you are, for reasons you'll understand later. Because you can easily control magnifying glass worth a planchette, and you can actually feel the strength of certain spirits. Anyway, so I will see you in the next one, and hopefully you learn some. Hopefully you're not triggered by anything. With spirits, they are chatty. They're very, they're very nice, most of them. I've only dealt with 2 that have been a little rude, but it's easier to exercise something than it is to actually find out the reason sometimes. But yeah, I would just carry some rosemary if you get triggered by ghosts. Ghosts don't like rosemary. Anyway, I will see you later. Alright? Bye.